Hello class, it's so very happy to meet you again. Welcome to this lesson. Before we start our lesson this time, let's begin it with prayer. For a few minutes, you can pray in your heart. Please. Thank you for praying. Before we continue our lesson, please see this video. Let's check it out.
This is a glass of water, but I have a question for you. Would you say that glass is half full or is it half empty? Joshua?
Half full and half empty. It's not even half full or half empty because if it was actually half full, it would actually be like.
Okay, technicality, but okay.
I agree with Finnegan. It's not half full or half empty. The line would be probably right here.
Okay, I think we're arguing over a technicality.
I
but that's
agree
okay.
with him.
Okay.
How about your answers? Your answers will surely vary. Some say the glass is half full, and surely others say the glass is half empty. Actually, whatever you answer must be correct. That depends on your point of view. But the purpose of my question this time is to practice your mindset in answering a question through your direct observation. Our lesson this time relates to the question of the video. Our topic talk about pragmatism and education. Before we continue, let's review the previous lesson. Our previous lesson was talk about Eastern philosophy. Our previous material was Eastern philosophy, religion and education. In that materials, we have studied what Eastern philosophy really is. Philosophy is rooted in religious teaching. Then we have also learned about Western philosophy, which is contrary to Eastern philosophy because it uses logic, rationality, and materialism. But in the end, the two studies turned out to be very useful and complementary to bring up a new philosophy that is useful in development of better education going forward. Now, we are going to discussing about pragmatism and education. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to be able to define the pragmatism. Second, analyze the influence of pragmatism in education and its application in the development of today's life. And the last one, conclude the relationship of pragmatism and advanced education in today's life. Okay, what is the pragmatism? The root of the word pragmatism is a Greek word meaning work. Pragmatism is a philosophy that encourages us to seek out the process and do the things that work best to help us achieve desirable ends. Okay, let us see this video about pragmatism.
We will now move to the third philosophy, which is pragmatism. Being pragmatic, what does that mean? Being pragmatic is being open to change, being open to the reality of today, and working with the change to your benefit. So, let us look at pragmatism. The universe is dynamic and evolving. The key term here is evolving. When you evolve, you change. So when you change, nothing can be permanent. And to a pragmatist, that is exactly the basis of his or her philosophy. Things change. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is there forever. And if change is going to happen, we might as well buy the change live with it, work with it, and teach through that change. Purpose of thought is action, and for a pragmatist, truth is relative. Because they believe so strongly in change, truth cannot last forever. Truth must change too. And therefore, truth is relative. It depends on the situation, the context, the event, the happening, the people involved, etc., etc., etc. For truth to be relative, it is difficult then not to accept change. And for a pragmatist individual or a pragmatist teacher, change will happen. And change happens through the focus for pragmatism, which is experience. Your experiences change. People change their thoughts, their thinking, their ideas, their affiliations, their friends, because of the experiences you've had. It's now moving towards what you actually encounter. So we started with idealism, which focused on the mind, came to realism, which focused on the body, and now moving out to pragmatism, which focuses on experience. How does your mind and body experience the real world outside? What kinds of things do you feel, see, endure, want to change? And because of your experiences, change will happen. And the originators, the perpetrators, are Peirce and Dewey, two great philosophers who've done a lot of work in developing the notion or the idea that change is a given. Change will happen. Whether we want to believe it or not, change is a constant. Change will come. Change will happen. How do we bring that change into our classrooms? If I today still teach like my teacher taught me in 1980, I am actually disadvantaging my students today. 20, 30 years later, to teach the same stuff, to teach the same way, to teach giving students the same experiences does not help the 21st century child. Things have changed. Schools have changed, students have changed, contents have changed, curriculum has changed, textbooks have changed, but the teacher and the teaching methods remain the same. If we still teach today with teaching methods from the 1980s or 90s or even beyond that, it is not going to work. We need to give our students current stuff through current ways of doing things, and the only way we can do it is if we embrace change. And so, for a pragmatist teacher, it will be most easy to take change and to buy something new and to go into the classroom and do something different. Unlike the idealist and the realist teachers who would have difficulty dealing with change, the pragmatist teacher would have an ease dealing with change because that is what he or she believes in, and believes that it is important for the student to get to change and to help students also understand that change in their lives will also happen, and you have to be open and receive that change and make the most of it.
It has been said that the philosophy of pragmatism is basically American, but pragmatism had its roots in European philosophical traditions. By and large, however, pragmatism received its full treatment from the three Americans, Charles Sanders Peirce, William James, and John Dewey. Charles Sanders Peirce. He argued that people always should remain extremely sensitive to the consequences of how they conceive of ideas. Peirce maintained that the concept of practical effects make up the whole of our concept of an object. Peirce concluded that true knowledge of anything depends on testing one's ideas in actual experience, because in and of themselves ideas are little more than hypotheses until tried upon the anvil of experience. For James, truth is not absolute and immutable, but is made in actual real-life events. Truth does not belong to an idea as some property adhering to it, for it is found in acting on ideas, in the consequences of ideas. In the life of an individual, experiences occur that have meaning and truth to that individual, but that cannot necessarily be verified objectively to someone else. According to Dewey, experience is of and in nature. Nature consists of stone, plants, disease, social condition, enjoyment, and sufferings. In short, one cannot separate experience and nature. Nature is what one of experiences, and one must view this experience in terms of its natural connections. For Dewey, experience is not just an isolated happenstance. It has depth and reaches into nature. Experience and nature are not two different things, separated from each other. Rather, experience itself is of nature. Pragmatism examines traditional ways of thinking and doing, and, where possible, seeks to incorporate them into everyday life. But it also supports creating new ideas to deal with the changing world in which people live. Human experience is an important ingredient of pragmatism philosophy. This ingredient and the central emphasis it receives have helped give pragmatism a decidedly environment orientation. Pragmatism, however, stresses the importance of seeing the child in relation to the variety of experiences encountered in the environment, not just co-experiences. Pragmatism believes that children must be understood in terms of mental, physical, and emotional development, and also in light of all other social and cultural factors that influence and shape their lives. The way point out because education is the process by which a culture is transmitted across generations by the communication of habit, activities, thought, and feelings from adults to the young. Without this, social life cannot survive. Therefore, education should not be viewed merely as schooling in academic subject matter, but as a part of life itself. According to pragmatists, education should be an experimental enterprise, as well as something that assists into social renewal. It should promote a human spirit in people and the desire to find new answers to current economic, political, and social problems. Education should promote individual and social interests, which will diminish reliance on custom and encourage more reliance of intelligence and democracy. Pragmatists prefer flexible education methods that can be used in various ways. Various methods are needed because there is no single way to educate. In consequence, educators should be aware of many approaches, including the use of source in the wider community. Pragmatists believe in diversified curriculum. Consequently, many pragmatists advocate problem-centered learning as the proper approach to curriculum organization. Essentially, it starts with a central question or problem, and students are to attack the problem in diverse ways according to their interests and needs. Some might work independently, others in group, and still others in various combinations and contexts. Information and ideas are drawn from books, periodicals, videos, travels, field trips, guest experts, and other resources, of course. Because all social life has potential to educate, people learn most of what they know through informal process and not formal education. However, informal process are not always carried out with purpose and attention. The danger is that when they receive formal education and formal education, it becomes abstract and far from the actual student life experience. So, constant attention must be paid to the right relationship with life experience. This is where the teacher's role becomes very important. Okay, now we come to pragmatism and Adventist education. When we have direct experience with Christ in our lives, we will have stronger faith. But we must be wise to practice this philosophy in our spiritual life. For example, in science, something can we believe if it has been proven true. But in our faith in God, we believe in Him, then we will be justified. So, those that are in accordance with the Bible we follow, and those that are not yet according to the Bible we use only as comparison. We come to the IAVL. John 3 verse 16. Let us read together. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whatever believes in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life. When God says He loves us, the truth of that love was proven by the experience of Jesus coming down and living in this world, even redeeming humanity so that we do not perish and get salvation. God's love was proven true by Jesus' death on the cross. As the conclusion, pragmatism is a modern philosophy that develops the idea that what is true is everything that proves itself to be true through experience. Knowledge comes from experience, and truth is based on experience. Second, pragmatism suggests to test the quality of values in the same way as we test the truth of knowledge by empirical methods. Third, in educational work, in students' point of view, the philosophy of pragmatism gives the experience to discover new things in either personal, social, or religious. Moreover, the role of the teacher in the pragmatism set of education is to supervise and to guide students' learning experience without disturbing their interests and needs. But as people who believe and have faith in God, we must wisely use the principles of pragmatism in our principles of salvation. Those that are in accordance with the Bible we follow, and those that are not yet according to the Bible we use only as a comparison. Okay, thank you for your attention. May this lesson can be useful in our daily life. God bless us.